My name is Ryan Poliniak. I'm a customer account manager here at Western Computer. I'll be joined by Maher Malki. He's an NAV solution architect here at Western Computer, talking about some of the more exciting feature type enhancements. There have been some significant improvements in a few areas, and I want to touch on them. The first is the ability to optimize NAV for touch. In today's world, people are using phones, they're using tablets, even touchscreen laptops, Microsoft Surface, and NAV's got a fantastic phone client that came out in the last version and a tablet client that came out the version before that. Well, what Microsoft has done now is to improve NAV itself, the application itself. For instance, the ability to take a list view and change it into a brick view just by toggling a button on or off. So if you think about it, trying to navigate a list on a phone or a tablet via touch is much more difficult than having a big brick to touch. It's optimization for touch is what it is. And it's very nice the way that they've done it. Very simply, you could toggle back and forth between a list view or a brick view. Likewise, they've added support for swipe gestures. Everybody's familiar with the swipe gesture that you could do on your phone. So what has happened is you can now set up an action to run when the user swipes, let's say, from the left edge or from the right edge of a device, and that can all be set up to determine what swipe gesture corresponds to what action. All configurable, a very nice feature. And then finally, as far as the touch enhancements go, phone roll centers have been designed much better. They're designed now for the touch gestures. The menu has been moved to the bottom of the screen, making it much more accessible for a user accessing NAV through their phone. And you can use swipe gestures and tap gestures to navigate the application, to access different parts of the roll center. And as a user becomes familiar with that, it makes it a much more efficient, much more robust user experience. So as far as the user interface itself, there's a big focus on simplifying it. And I think at the core of this, and Maher just touched on it, is that the pages have been redesigned and simplified in large part. A lot of the fields that were formerly default are now under the additional tab, meaning that you have to click additional fields in order to see them. And it really cleans up the screens. It makes them much more easy to use and much more simplified. Beyond that, items and GL accounts can now be categorized. So if you're in the item list, you can have categories and you can have multi-leveled categorization of your items, defining a hierarchy of your list of items. And this is similar to using product group codes, but it's a much more simple user interface. It allows us to group things in a visual way. Very nice. The ability to add media fields into NAV has been included with NAV 2017. For instance, a picture on a contact card. And this can be displayed, if you're on a list page, you can display it as long as you're viewing using that brick layout that I mentioned. Or you can view media field on any card type page or even in a report. So that ability to add media fields into the user interface is a nice addition as well. Makes it look much more modern. As far as productivity goes, there have been a few enhancements made there as well. Some things like the ability to reverse or cancel a credit memo, similarly to the way that you can now cancel a posted invoice, which essentially creates the credit memo in the background, but you can now cancel that credit memo in a similar way. That's a new feature. The document management feature, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but last year NAV 2016 came out with a document management feature that allows you to scan documents in and pull data off of those documents and create transactions in NAV. That feature's been much improved. The ability to pull the data off of the documents, the learning feature has been improved in the back end. The intelligence has been improved. You can now filter that list of incoming documents much more easily so that you don't have to see all of them, maybe just documents that haven't been processed yet. And for those of you who haven't seen that, you may not understand exactly what I'm talking about, but it has been much improved. Payment reconciliation piece has been improved. Now you can see the total amount in the payment reconciliation journal, and you can drill into that amount to see the transactions that have not yet been applied or reconciled. So all very nice productivity enhancements. And then not quite sure it falls under productivity, but I think it's worth mentioning the notifications piece that came out in this version of NAV, which is a programmatic way to send notifications to the NAV user interface. So for instance, maybe if you wanted to alert the user to something like low inventory or an exceeded credit limit for the customer, those notifications will appear in the user interface similar to the place where an error would appear now, and you can just dismiss them. They're really informational. So I'm going to turn it over to Maher, and he could show us some of these nice new user experience enhancements.
Fantastic. Thanks, Ryan. And what I'd like to do is show this to you both in the standard client and in the web client, as there's been enhancements on both sides. So here within the standard NAV client, one of the favorite things I'd like to show you guys is sales orders. And I'm going to go ahead and just open up a regular sales order to show you what the new sales order page looks like. You notice it's a lot smaller. There's a lot less clutter in terms of the fields around the general fast tab, if you will. They've hidden or moved a lot of the fields underneath the Show More button. All the same fields you know and love are here, but what they've done is they've really collapsed that tab. They've kept the totaling tab underneath the lines, which is great. You'll find that the invoicing details tab and the shipping fast tab have changed quite a bit. Again, on the invoicing details, there's some standard invoicing details here, payment terms code, currency codes. They've gone ahead and moved the location code here to the invoicing fast tab, which is fine. But again, if you go to show more details, opens up for a little bit more details. Under shipping and billing, notice it's pretty straightforward here. Where are we shipping and who and where the bill to is, or whom the bill to is for. So again, you could show more and get a little more details behind that. So again, this collapsed view we find has been working really well for a lot of our testing, and it's been streamlining and making the entry of an order happen much, much faster. One other thing I'd like to show you that Ryan mentioned is I just went ahead and hit the X to close out of the sales order, and you'll see that this notification just popped up that says this document has not been posted. Are you sure you want to exit? This is part of my notification settings. This is a new notification that Microsoft has given us the ability to set based on me as a user. So again, I'm just going to go ahead to the search and search for notifications, and you'll see here my notifications. And these are user specific. So I can certainly come here on a per user level, or the entire role center level, if you will, when I'm configuring the role center, and be able to specify whether I want to enable various different notifications, like Ryan mentioned, low item availability, customer exceeding their credit limit, warning on unposted documents, and that's one that we just saw when I went to close out of that sales order, and so on and so forth. So again, the notifications have been ramped up, and they're pretty powerful here. Let me take us over to the customers, to show you guys some of these media pieces that Ryan was talking about. So here I have a customer. I'm going to go ahead and open up the customer record for them. One thing you'll notice right away, again, is a simplification of all the fields within the fast tabs. All the fields have been simplified, the fast tabs have been simplified, again, increasing the productivity as there's less daunting data to look at. And here on the right, we see that customer picture. No, that is not me. That came out of the box. But what you'll find is these media fields now and fact boxes can be added to the various pages. One other thing I'd like to take us to and show you is, from a productivity standpoint, the canceling of a posted sales invoice or posted purchase invoice. So here I'm going to go ahead and just jump to my posted sales invoices. And I'm just going to randomly choose an invoice. And now you'll find here under correct, there's a button that says correct and cancel. What the correct does is it really creates a credit memo. It reverses the entire transaction. So here you'll find if Post-sales invoice will be canceled. A new version will also be created. So upon saying yes, it creates a credit memo for me in the background to cancel out that invoice and then recreates a new invoice for me. So you still see the in and the out from a transaction level, but nonetheless brings me back to having an invoice here that's not yet posted that I can go ahead and make changes to and post it. With that said, I'd like to take us over to the web client. And take you over to the items list. And what you'll find here is we have different ways of viewing the list, and this is that thumbnail view of the item list that Ryan was referring to. So here, this is what supports the swipe gestures and giving you the ability to swipe through the various products. So here you'll find that there's these different views that Microsoft has added to make them more touch-friendly. I'm also going to take us over to a sales invoice, for example, and show you again that streamlined user interface, the thicker fields that are more touch-friendly. The grid here within the items, within the subtable where you would enter your items, are much bigger and much more touch-friendly. Notice my notification settings that we set within the regular client still parlay out here to the web client. So despite the client that you're using, you will see those notification messages popping up.
All right. Thanks for that overview, Meher. The important thing to understand here is that the goal with these type of updates is to increase productivity, and this goes back a long time with NAV. The role-tailored client was developed through studies that showed how many clicks it took a user to execute their key functions, and trying to trim that down and to streamline things. And along the same lines, these improvements are designed to do the same thing, to make the user experience more efficient, to increase productivity. That's what's at the core of these type of enhancements. That concludes today's video. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on all latest video releases. Thanks for watching.